Hello and welcome back. We are the Dark Screen Society. I'm Gigi. We got Seth. Say hi, Seth.
What's up, everyone?
We got Chuck.
Hey, everybody.
And we got Brian.
Hello.
Brian, we
Hello.
need more. We need more pizzazz from you.
Yeah, wake
Can't
up.
sleep. Brian's like, no, I'm sleepy.
Nighttime. It's
We're all
dark outside.
we're all very sleepy today. But we're doing something special. Dark Screen Society is going to start doing some singular movie reviews that has been requested, and it's something that we have been wanting to do, where we are going to take a movie, review it, but we're going to do a little bit of half and half. So we're going to talk about like our initial thoughts, no spoilers, and then we will let the audience know when we are getting into spoiler territory, so that you have a little warning. Some people like to know the spoilers ahead of time. Some people don't. So if you don't like to hear spoilers ahead of time, pause and then come back after. Yeah, scram after you watch. But we will definitely let you know, and we'll put a little alert like if you watch on YouTube. So. But our first movie that we're going to get into is Terrifier 3. We got to watch it at the world premiere at Fantastic Fest, which was super fun. The cast and crew were there. They're very lovely and kind. And it's always different when you watch a movie at its world premiere because it definitely adds more to your movie experience. I feel like you end up liking the movie more because everybody has this certain energy about them being in the room. But I think today will be a fun episode because we all have very different opinions about the Terrifier franchise. So let's get into it. Brian, I'm going to let you start first. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Terrifier franchise? And then what are your thoughts about Terrifier 3?
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm wearing Terrifier merch, so that must mean I'm a huge fan. But,
fake fan. What the hell?
Yeah. I bought this, my first trip to Spirit in America, so I thought I had to buy something. And this is only a nice t-shirt. So
I have that on camera.
True. So Terrifier 1, I liked for its simplicity. No, it wasn't bogged down by plot. It was just a mute clown that's an evil bastard and killing people. Cool. Fine with that. Terrifier 2 went to the complete opposite through a huge amount of fantasy plot and swords and wings. Now it's like, look, you've lost me here. I'm losing my interest in this. I liked some of it. Art was amazing. Music was great. Kills were cool. But yeah, I could do without the fairy plot and the clown cafe. But I was still like, and even more fake fan. I've got a picture of the clown cafe on my wall. But I was supporting a local artist, so that was my way of doing that.
Okay, that's sweet. That's okay. That's sweet.
That's nice of me.
We'll allow
it. Are you in or are you out with Terrifier? I can't. You have it on your wall. You got a shirt. Are you a fake fan or are you just a?
It's a love hate.
It's a love hate.
I support independent horror, so I appreciate them trying something. Might not be my cup of tea, but they went balls to the wall with it and they made a success. So I'll show them support in a way. Like I'll give them my money. Terrifier 3, I went to watch because I was like, you know what? There are a lot of the good horror franchises. It's not until 3 or 4 before they're the best ones. Like Friday the 13th, best one comes in about 4. Nightmare on Elm Street's 3. So I was like, maybe this will be the one that I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking good. Now I get it. Now I see why everyone loves it so much. And obviously going to watch it with fans was another thing that made me want to go and see it. So I was hyped and open-minded to it.
Nice. Okay, I love that. I honestly have the same exact thoughts as you, Brian. Like I thought for some reason you were like less of a Terrifier fan than I am, but I have the same feelings. Like the first one, I like it for what it is, like which is funny because I'm usually so much more of a storyline person. Like I don't really like allegorical films or films that are just like don't have like a strong enough storyline. But I appreciated that with Terrifier, that it was just like this like quick and grimy, gritty movie about this weird clown that kills people on Halloween night. So I liked the whole vibe of it. And yeah, it gets like repetitive, but I was like, oh, it is what it is. That's so cool. And it got to showcase its, like practical effects. And then the second one happened, and then they tried to put way too much freaking storyline in it, which okay, I appreciated that they tried to put storyline in it, but I absolutely, with all of my heart and soul, hate the Terrifier storyline. I think it's cheesy. I think it doesn't make sense. I think it like is just absolutely silly. And I think there are like cheesy things like, the clown cafe and stuff, but I also understand the allure that it has. Like, I get why people love it so much. It's just so not for me. And also the length of it was just it did not need to be that long. But I think they knew that. Like, I feel like Damien knew that, which is why Terrifier 3 is not that long. Um, but I feel the same. Like, there are certain like, I still support Terrifier and Damien Leone and the whole team because it's independent cinema and they put so much love and effort and they are such kind people that I'm like, even though I'm not the biggest fan, I still support the franchise. I have the same thoughts about Terrifier 3. Like, I liked that they tried to answer more questions about, like, what happens in Terrifier 2 because Terrifier 2 just left you like, "What the hell is this and that and this and this and this?" And in 3, you get a couple more answers, but some things are still left open. I liked the length that they put it on. I loved, kind of we got to see David Howard Thornton showcase more of, art and his characteristics, but as far as, um, a storyline, it still kinda feels the same to me. But, Seth, what about you?
Geez, Gigi, tell us how you really feel about the
I well,
franchise.
I am,
I
that's how
know.
I really feel.
That's why we're here.
I know.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm on the opposite end of you guys where I didn't like Terrifier 1 as much, just because it was just nonsensical killing, like, in the worst ways possible, and I don't know, it just wasn't my thing, but I absolutely love Terrifier 2 with the introduction of Sienna and kind of, like, having somebody to root for. Like, while it was still absolutely brutal, it gave me something to, like, wanna cheer for in a way, and I really like that, and I like how it's kind of doing the same thing with Terrifier 3. We have Sienna back and her brother and all of that. But as a whole, I'm kind of in the middle on the franchise. I was really worried about 3 because I know Damien was saying that it was going to like be the scariest one yet. And like it's going to be the most brutal. So I was like scared it was going to be kind of more like 1. But overall, I really did enjoy 3, and I think it's my favorite of the franchise.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think 3 is my
Same.
favorite as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine too.
Yeah.
Chuck?
Chuck, what about you?
Not mine. So I have similar thoughts, and I respect all of your opinions very much, as you know. But Terrifier 1 is the best of the Terrifier franchise to me, and for good reason. And the reason is this is a bold fucking statement. Dark Screen Society, you're gonna book this one. I
Ooh.
think Terrifier 1 is the modern Birds by Alfred Hitchcock, because the Birds was so crazy, but there's no explanation. It's just like, why can't we just watch? Why are the birds doing this? Why is this happening? And they never tell you. It's just birds that want to eat your fucking eyeballs. And that is terrifying. And that's what I love about Terrifier 1 is like, there is no explanation. It's just this maniac that doesn't talk, that stares a hole through your eyes and in your soul. Like that scene when they're in the pizza shop and he's just sitting there staring at that girl is like one of
Mhm.
the creepiest things I've ever witnessed. And that's what I loved about 1. Like I loved that there was nobody to root for. There was no explanation. Like you're just sitting there wondering, like, there's people like that exist. Like it's just this fucking psycho that you know nothing about. So that's my personal favorite. I would do 1, 3, then 2. I think if they make a bunch of them, 2 is the one that's going to get forgotten in the long run, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's bad. Like I understand and I respect them for swinging the bat and trying new ideas and everything like that. It was too much. You know what I mean? Like there was just way too much. So if 1 is the birds, I'm recording. If 1 is sorry, you got to edit that out.
You're good.
If 1 is the birds, then 2 is the Dark Knight, because the Dark Knight is a shitty movie carried by Heath Ledger's performance, and 2 is a film that's carried by the bedroom scene. Because if you take the bedroom scene out of it, there's not very much to talk about in Terrifier 2. It just
Yeah.
becomes a mundane, regular, like slasher type movie. But 3 was a very nice mix of both. Like art was creepy again. The addition of another character was added to the allure of his creepiness. And I like the fact that they didn't flesh out too much of the plot, but they keyed on a couple of elements just enough to make you want a fourth one, which I think was the intention. So like I I hope they go into that stuff. Like when they do make the fourth one, because I really want to know now. But the pacing of 3 was great. Yeah, I would go 1, 3, 2. That's how I feel about Terrifier. But like, I don't know. I don't know what else they could do. I almost hope that they don't give us blood, guts, and gore in part 4. Like I would love for them to just like totally flip Terrifier on its head and make it like a Zodiac type 7 kind of, like just give us all the lore and the story and all this stuff and just totally flip it upside down. I think that would be cool. It'd piss a lot of people off, but I think it'd be really
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's funny you think that like 2 will get forgotten over time, whereas like 1 will stick. I think it's going to be the opposite because it seems like it's very clear that they're trying to create like a trilogy now with Sienna, and I feel like they're going to end up like trying to push away 1 and stick with these like 3 films. Like this is the franchise that Damien wanted at this point.
Right, but they'll never push aside 1 because you couldn't have 2 without 1. And the reason that they got any kind of budget whatsoever for 2 was the success of 1. So it will always exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get what both of you are saying, honestly, and I totally understand that, Chuck. I did that's kind of like why I liked 1. I think in 2, even though I I love Lauren Lavera. Do I like Sienna's character? I don't know. I like that we have somebody to root for. I think I just don't really like her character. Not that I don't like her character. I don't really have an affinity for her character like other people do because I don't like her storyline. So
Right.
it's hard to be like, she's my favorite final
Well,
girl.
name 3 things that you know about her life in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
She's hot. She has trauma. That's it.
And the end.
It stops there. Yeah, that's
Yeah. So, and she has a brother, but like,
They're giving her the Laurie Strode treatment.
yeah. So I so, but I get what you're saying, Seth. Like it is, I because that's what people think of when they think of like Terrifier. Obviously, it's like Art the Clan, but they think Sienna. So it's like I do understand how some people are going to be like, well, you don't need to watch Terrifier because that doesn't really matter to the franchise. This is what matters because this is the storyline now. Like you can watch Terrifier 2 and not really need to watch 1
I
because
w-
To be
that
fair,
story does not.
yeah.
you could say the
I
same
wonder-
about Friday the 13th because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason's not on Friday the 13th, first one, and spoilers if you've not seen that.
Um,
Spoiler.
I wonder if Damien thought Sienna and like Lauren Lavera's character was going to be as big as she was because she's like an icon all over the place now. And I wonder if he thought that before making 2, because I feel like, when he was saying he wanted to make 3, just as scary as 1, I wonder if like things kind of changed and he's like, oh, well, we can make a franchise with Sienna now. And it kind of shifted what he like originally had planned for after 1.
I'm sure I read that he always wanted a character like Sienna. So
Yeah.
I think he probably was in his plans.
Yeah.
right. And being completely fair, like whether there's a fleshed out story to her or a history or anything, like she was the epitome of a final girl. Like she fucking she kicked ass. She made pretty smart decisions. She didn't blindly just trip over shit. I think once in part 2, used her brain, thought on her feet. Like so, she's a good character.
Yeah.
And this is where I have a couple things to say, but I don't want to. Whenever we get to, I have more to say when we get to the next segment because I can't really talk about it without the S
Spoilers.
word. The S word.
Yeah.
Yes.
The S word.
The
So,
S word.
okay, before getting into, I think when we end our little non-spoiler segment, what would you give Terrifier 3? What did you rate Terrifier 3? I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
That's where I'm at with it.
That was the same.
I gave it a
3 out of
4.
5. 4.
Yeah, because I liked
Nice.
it. Like, it's my favorite of the franchise. I really enjoyed this one.
That's
Okay,
fair.
that's fair. What did
Yeah.
you give 1, Seth? I'm curious.
I think I gave it like a 2.5, and then I gave 2 a 3.5.
Oh my God. I think I gave, let me see, Terrifier. I gave the first Terrifier a 3 because I liked it for what Terrifier 2. I gave it a 2. I give Terrifier 2 a 2.
Honestly,
2 for 2.
the like hacksaw scene just fucking did something to me, and it made me so uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
I think that scene's way worse than the bedroom scene in 2, and I just like 1 was just too brutal for me for some reason. I don't know why.
That's fair. A lot of people, and a lot of people that I talk to, I feel like most people I talk to prefer Terrifier 2 over Terrifier 1. Like most people, because it has a storyline. They didn't like Terrifier 1 because it was just like it's very repetitive. He's just, bopping around killing people, but I I liked that. Okay, so we all kind of rated it the same, 3 out of 5, except Seth, you're 4 out of 5. So let's get into our spoilers because this helps us with our why we gave it the rating and a more in-depth analysis about it. So, spoiler segment, everybody.
Be
Woo!
Okay,
be warned.
be warned. Um, okay, where do we start? Let's start with the opening because I think that's the biggest gimmick of the movie is the opener. Everybody is like, "Oh, the opening scene, people are walking out, people are throwing up, people are fainting. It's gonna be the most controversial thing
They
you've ever
banned it in
oh,
France for people
ban
under 18.
Yeah.
yes, and I'm gonna be so for real. I thought it was pretty mild. Like, I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
I was like, "This is just a regular old Terrifier movie."
Yep.
I
Did you guys have the same feeling?
yeah,
100%.
and
Yeah.
I think if you were just like a super, like if you're an imaginary like, listen, if your catalog is Blumhouse and you went to see this, then you're a casual fan, and like I think
Yes.
it's offensive to people like that. But for people that watch horror movies constantly, like, yeah, it's taboo. It's more taboo than it is shocking. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think it was. Now, if they would have, I mean,
Shown it.
fuck it, we're doing spoilers. He kills a fucking kid, but like they don't show it, and he goes in a door, and then you hear it, and hearing it is pretty awful. But then they do a scene where they zoom in and they show you the remains of what he did. Now, if they would have rewound that, he went in the door and the camera went with him, and he would have chopped that kid up. Like, okay, I could see people fainting, throwing up, and
Yeah.
doing all that, but
Yeah.
like then the movie would have never got made because nobody's going to allow them to show that. So yeah,
Yes.
I thought it was rad. It's not the hacksaw scene or the bedroom scene. They're way
No.
fucking worse than that.
No, I thought like I literally was like, I'm sitting down in my seat. I'm like, I got my little bed, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna see a kid get decapitated. And then we don't even see anything. And I was like, oh, that was not that bad. I was
Yeah.
expecting something so
Yeah,
unbearably heinous because we also saw it with other like but with people that are like parents. I mean, like Chuck, like you're a parent, like Sean Chandler, Cody Leach were in there. I was like, oh, I feel like certain like parents don't really like seeing scenes like that, even if they are horror fans. Like sometimes it is like Chuck's like,
I was all I was
Fuck the
all
kids.
for I was fuck them
Fuck the
kids. I
kids.
was all for it.
because sometimes it's just like too intense. But yeah, I was not that I was like let down. It sounds fucking psychotic. Where I'm like, well, you didn't fucking show a kid getting killed. I
I,
was a
I
little disappointed.
I actually thought the other scene involving children with the bomb was way more offensive than the beginning of it because it was like
100%.
because A, it's a fucking bomb. B, that's tied into like shit that happens in the world, and then you
Yeah.
have a mall full of fucking kids, and some of them died, maybe none of them died, or all of them died. Like that left me way more breathless than the beginning, which I thought was one of the most diabolical things in the film, personally.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll go like in order because this is so that it's not like all random
No,
out of chronological order. So okay, the opening. So we all kind of thought it was mild. Brian, Seth, do you have any thoughts on the opening that you want to add?
No.
No, I was
yeah.
relatively disappointed. Although I was like, "Yay, they killed the kid!" But so everyone wasn't sure if they would kill the kid.
Yay.
And then
Yeah.
I had Slasher Talk sitting next to me, and like he was so excited, and it was like watching a little kid at Christmas watching Terrifier 3.
Yeah. aw.
That's cute.
But yeah, it was perfectly fine. I thought the opening to Oddity was better than the opening to Terrifier 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. So and not as heinous, at least in our opinion, it's not as heinous. But yeah, if you are a casual horror movie watcher, I 100% understand why people walk out of the theater. Like, I think if like my dad was gonna go see this, he'd be like, "This, what the fuck is this?" Where I'm like, yeah, it's not like you're watching horror movies all the time.
Before
Um,
you jump on, Gigi, so can we talk about something that I don't know if this is true or not? I just read it on Reddit,
yeah.
and
Oh, it's true.
apparently people were just told that they're going to see a holiday movie. So that's why people left, because they went in and the fucking holiday movie was Terrifier 3. So they were like, oh, what the
Oh
fuck?
wow.
Oh,
Wait,
so
wait,
wait, it
They-
was like a secret screening?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
That's
fucked.
amazing.
So that's
okay,
why.
well,
So it's not like
that's not
people were like,
fair.
I'm going to see Terrifier 3.
So it was a setup,
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true. So like allegedly, but
right?
that's why I read that it was just casual. That's how
That's interesting.
in Britain 9 people left, and I was like, because I know people that were at that screening and they've not mentioned anything about it. But that's what I read.
Interesting. Yeah. If that is true, if they were like secret screening, it's a holiday movie, and you're like, oh, maybe it's going to be fucking some kind of Home Alone movie, and then you're like, oh, I do not want to watch it. I understand why people would walk out.
A CGI monkey.
Yeah, I was like, we walked out of almost every secret screening at Fantastic Fest, so so I would get it. Okay, and then I guess just like the rest of the film. Well, let's talk about Sienna. So it has some structure. So Sienna's character, Chuck, I know that you wanted to talk about some stuff about Sienna. How do you feel about that?
Well, I like her. I mean, obviously, I like her. Like, I think Lauren plays the character very well. But the way that they fleshed her out, like what we said before, is there's nothing to her. She's paper thin. Like,
Mhm.
she has trauma. She's dealing with that in 3. Of course, you have trauma. I mean, you just fought a demonic fucking clown for 3.5 hours in a cafe, for Christ's sakes. Like, but what they alluded to from 2 into 3 with, how she got the knife, and what dissolved of art and how she eventually defeated him. There's so much, and this is what everybody leaves out of Terrifier. There's All Hallows Eve, and before All Hallows Eve there's the Ninth Circle, which was Art's first appearance. And the Ninth Circle is not good. It's very, very rough, but the lore and the history that you're looking for and that everybody's looking for, that's where it's at. That's where it came from. That's where the I forget what the knife's called, but that's where the Terrifier is what it's called. That's where it came from. And then in the movie, like, that guy that asked that question at the end of the world premiere had the best question of the night, because he was like, they zoomed in on that little piece of armor in the thing, and is there going to be more story behind that? And like, that's what's going to flesh her character out. So if they can tie her into whatever lore that thing is that exists in hell, and why it's almost like the sword and the stone. Like, all those people tried to pull that sword out of the stone, but that one kid was the one to do it. And she's the one that's able to wield that knife. So like, if they can develop her that way, that she has some kind of thing, she might go down like beyond icon status for, this deep fucking demon slayer. So like, I hope that that's where they go with it. And so I think the verdict isn't out on Sienna, because we don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we
Yeah.
have what we're given, but there's so much hope for her to be not a Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
Does that make
That's
sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I hope that they do flesh out this whole like armor and sword and everything. Like, also everything like with her. I have so many questions about like her dad, like how he ties into everything. Like,
Right.
that truly just does not make sense to me. And it's really unfortunate that Terrifier 2 is kind of a pain to get through for people that feel that way, because if they do, which they are, he already confirmed it, make it like continue on with the franchise. It's like, obviously people are going to go back and rewatch Terrifier 2, or new fans are going to be like, okay, well now I want to get into the franchise. I hope that it I hope that they do make everything all nice and clear and like wrapped up in a bow, because then you could go back and watch it and maybe have a new appreciation for it. Even though like
Yeah.
me and Brian don't care for it, it's like, oh, well, now I can go back and watch it and this all makes sense now, you know?
Do you know what I think would make you care for it more? And this is just my opinion. I think this could be the best thing they could do for the franchise. And I will openly say I respect this franchise and Damien Leone so much, because it's giving so many independent filmmakers the courage to make their art of what they want to be seen. And that wouldn't exist without a trailblazer like Terrifier. Doesn't mean it doesn't have problems. When Terrifier 3 comes to physical media or on demand, or you could rent it, they should release a director's cut of 2 and trim that movie down. And if they trim that like 20 minutes out of that movie, which would be very easy to do, and then release the trilogy like on one set, it would make all the pieces of lore that they do give you in 2 more accessible, because you get lost in the dragged out runtime that you can't pay attention to the hints of the dad and the things that they do. They're there, they allude to them,
Yeah.
but it's just like that cafe, like Brian hits, that cafe part is so fucking long. Like it's just
Yeah.
so long. So I don't know, maybe that would benefit. Nobody, I'm not a filmmaker, so they're not going to listen to me, but like I think that would really, really help. It'd be more like accessible.
Yes.
A
Yeah.
question about the cafe. I don't like. So obviously, I was quite jet lagged when we watched it. So, do I remember it right that they kind of said that she dreamt all the cafe thing didn't happen? Like, I feel like they were trying to say, look, we know people didn't really like that, so we're going to pretend that was just made up in her imagination. Or did I make that up?
No, that sounds pretty accurate. That it was a figment of her imagination.
Yeah, but I didn't know
I
if it's the therapist. I don't
It
know
was
if
like
that.
it was like the nightmare in her mind.
Yeah.
I can't even remember. Like I'm not gonna lie, I like blacked out during Terrifier 2.
No, this is Terrifier 3. So I'm sure, like, when she gets out and she's speaking to either maybe to her brother or another
Oh,
therapist. I can't remember
Oh,
who.
to the therapist lady.
oh,
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
Yes, to the therapist
she's like,
lady. Yes.
that didn't happen. Like, you were terrorized by this maniac, but the clown cafe thing was all figment of your imagination. So that to me felt like we know that wasn't great in Terrifier 2, so it didn't happen. That was a dream.
Y-
Okay.
yes.
So I'm hoping anyway.
Yes, they okay, yes, now I remember that she did allude to that because in Terrifier 3 she does obviously she's going through so much trauma, so we, get introduced to her going to like therapy and her talking about everything that happened, which was kind of like a nice little recap to Terrifier 2
Right.
that they added. I do love when they do that in movies when they're like, let's give you a little recap like in a really natural sense. And they did say that. They were like that didn't happen. um yeah, I don't know. Seth, what do you think? What do you think about because you really are a fan of what's her name? Why am I Sienna.
Sienna, yeah. I really liked how they fleshed out her story more again, and like it was, all the shit that she's been through, and it was more about her trauma. I thought she portrayed that really well. I wanted to kind of go back to the point that, like we don't know much about her father. But I think it like in this movie it kind of hints at a few things. And I don't know, like maybe I'm completely off here, but he drew the armor and like it kind of came to life from that. In a way, I kind of feel like he might be like heaven, like he might be God, and then like Art's the devil, and Sienna's like the angel he sent down. And I feel like it's
That's
all gonna
deep.
yeah, and I
I
feel
love
like
that.
I was just thinking about that because it kind of makes sense if you look at it that way. Like she's an angel, he's the devil, he might be like God or heaven, the father, and we're gonna learn more about that because obviously, and I know this is more of a spoiler, but we're gonna go to hell in the fourth film.
Oh,
So
yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
100%. So, like, because in the third film, we see she has like a vision or like a memory or something of him drawing Sienna's little like character or whatever
yeah,
she's called.
and she
And
can heal now too.
wait, who?
Sienna,
Who did she heal?
she can heal herself. Her hand healed after she was cut.
I do not remember that.
You don't
Wait,
remember that?
when?
How do you guys? And
When?
at the end of 3, her hands were cut, and then they heal, and like the wounds get covered up. Like she like legitimately heals, and that's why I think she's like an angel. Like she's like supernatural, like Art is.
I
I mean,
literally
that
do
happened.
not. What the fuck? Why me and
Yeah, how
Brian?
do you not remember that?
I literally
Yeah, that
don't
happened,
remember
and
that happening.
that's fair. And she
Oh,
remembered
is that like when she grabs the sword and
Mhm.
it cut her hands?
Yeah, and then she healed afterwards.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Vaguely remember that. Okay, that's in our defense, it was like 2 weeks ago, and there's been
Fake
45
fans.
movies in between.
And it was 2 a.m. after 24 hours of
Yes,
traveling.
we literally watched it, finished at like 3 AM. So,
I just hope
uh,
that they don't turn it the other way and make all that a figment of her imagination as
Yeah.
well. Like she's just because they could cop out that way, and I hope they don't do that. But
I don't
she
think they will.
remembered that picture that her dad drew so much that the Halloween outfit that she made into replicated that, and that thing has fucking angel wings on it. So
Yep.
like that's a calling card too. We're gonna get this big battle between heaven and hell, which and shout out, I don't know if anybody follows Christopher Keeley on TikTok, but he has a video where he goes into the lore of the ninth circle to bring it into the third thing. And it's a very fleshed out explanation of the timeline of Terrifier. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty fucking close. And it makes so much sense to like what Seth's saying with the healing with the dead. So like if they tie that all into this big showdown between heaven and hell, like that would up my score on every other fucking movie because it's like a lead in to that.
Yeah,
I'd
same.
bump them all up a point or a point and a half because that's, you know,
It's epic.
yeah, it would be fucking epic. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So that I love that because we do know, as we know, this is spoiler segment. So at the end of Terrifier, her cousin, niece,
Cause
niece, is it her niece?
Niece.
Yeah.
Yeah, her niece obviously gets sucked into hell with Art, and so we know that she is going to we know that there's a fourth, so that's what we're assuming is that she's going to have to go and find her niece in the depths of hell. So if that's all leading up to it, I love that theory, Seth. Like her
Yeah,
dad is yeah, somewhat of this like god-like figure, and yeah, she's angelic, which would honestly, that would bump my ratings up because that is what I don't like about 2. I don't like this cheesy like
You know what?
angel devil because there wasn't enough there for me.
But now that he brought that up and put it in that light, there's a scene at the end of 2, like when they're in that bathroom and having, you know, like the final showdown in the battle. She's like when he comes around the corner and she's like down on her knees and then she's like looks up. It's like that famous shot that's in all the pictures. There's a white light that is literally like comes down and is like shining on her, almost like heaven or whatever's up there gave her the power to finish off that battle. But you don't really, it's just lighting when you watch it. But like when you think of it in this perspective, that automatically popped in my head. So maybe they've been leading us by the hand all along and we just didn't fucking notice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What picture are you talking about?
The one where she's kind of like down on her knees and she's looking up. She has that red paint on her eye. It's in the end finale scene, and there's like a light that comes through because there's that perfect lighting that shines down on her face. It's like the best picture of her. And she
Yes,
has like
yes.
the blood on her, like when he comes in and he does this with his hands, and then they pan to her. She's on the ground. Then the brother walks behind him, and then that light shines and hits her face, and it's like whenever she's able to like, you know, really go at him.
And you know,
Yes.
more on this too, like kind of going back to the whole thing of like the clown cafe not being real. It could be real. It could just be like a place in between both heaven and hell. And that's how her dad showed her that art is a thing and is real and is coming for her.
So it's like purgatory.
Yep.
Okay, that would make it
I love that even more.
yeah, that would make it a lot
We're just
digestible.
writing our own Terrifier movie here.
Yeah.
You know?
He
Mhm.
listens to this and he's like, "That's not what I meant." It's like, "What the fuck are these people talking about?"
Why'd
So
I hug her?
yeah, I know this fake fan.
Fuck that bitch.
One thing we have not talked about, and this is actually something that I really, really liked about Terrifier 3, is Vicky's character and Art's character and how they dive more into this supernatural element of Terrifier and Art the Clown, because that was one thing that I really struggled with like Terrifier and Terrifier 2, where I'm like, how like what is happening here? How does he keep coming back? What the fuck does Vicky have to do with anything? Like what is happening? So how do we feel about Vicky's character? One, her prosthetics were
Unbelievable.
incredible. She looks real rough in Terrifier 3, and then you see her walk out and she's like this gorgeous, beaming, beautiful lady, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that was her?"
Yeah.
But her character is incredible because at the end of 2, because I also just like forgot. Like I said, I just I didn't really remember all of like what happened with like Vicky's lore until watching Terrifier, and I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "This fucking girl." Because at the end of Terrifier 2, she's in the like, where is she again?
The insane asylum or like mental hospital
Yeah.
at the end of 2.
Yes, and she gave birth to Art's head,
Head.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
yes. And they go in Terrifier 3, they go into why and how this happens because he's able to like,
Like she's his vessel.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
like art needs like a vessel. And they kind of alluded to who being the next vessel? Sienna? No.
No, it was the girl on the bus, some rando.
Mhm.
Okay, another okay. That was
Yeah.
one thing that I was like, somebody needs to break this down for me." Okay, let's talk about Vicky's character. How do we feel about this? Seth, I'm gonna start with you.
I thought she was like the highlight of the film, honestly, and like took
Yeah.
some scenes away from art. I thought, like you said, the prosthetics were absolutely amazing, and what she did with the character. I mean, the one scene where she was fucking cutting herself, um, like was more brutal than anything art did in the entire movie. Like it was gross.
I fucking forgot about that scene. Oh
Yeah,
my god. Yeah, the scene where she's pleasuring herself with a shard of glass.
yeah, and getting off
That
to watching art kill somebody, like
It's the gnarliest scene in the entire movie.
yeah, 100%.
I that yeah, wow. I just like poop, I
Yeah.
blocked that out. That was visceral. That
Hmm.
was and she played it so well.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow, that was rough.
but that's my thoughts.
Okay.
She's great.
Ch Chuck, what about you?
I think she was so great that I would love a Vicky spinoff movie because
Yes,
she
100%.
was creepy as fuck, diabolical. She didn't talk. You know, just her sitting in that tub with the blood and the still shots on her were just so. She was so Terrifier 1 is what she was. She was like the epitome of Terrifier 1 in a character, and I loved her. Like I think that hopefully she gets the dude that she deserves. Um, because honestly, if she wouldn't have been in there and you wouldn't have had that element, I don't know how much I would have liked the overall product of the movie. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
like art is like now transcended into all these different pop culture things, and he's an icon. But like he had help. I hate to
Mhm.
say that, but he had, you know what I mean? Like, because she makes him more diabolical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the deal between them. So I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to see that character. You know, can she come back from that form? Can she go back to that, you know, mental room? Like what's happening there? Like there's a lot of meat here for a story. It's just, are we going to get it? You know what I mean? That's what I'm
Yeah.
worried about. I hope we do.
Yeah. Brian, how do you feel?
I thought she like anyone else. I thought she was the best character. She was legitimately scary, especially at the end where she was trying to choke Sienna out and trying to get in her body. I don't know what the fuck she was trying to do, if I'm honest, but she
Yeah.
was like up in her face screaming, and I was like, Jesus, art's never really scared me. Vicky has.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
She was
Yeah,
creepy.
she's like a legitimately like scary character, and I do think that that she is gonna be somebody's like favorite in this movie. Like when they watch it, they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Oh, Art, sit down.
And if
Vicky
you
is coming
yeah.
for you."
Yeah.
And if you want an idea of what she's like for people that are listening, she's like a cross between the Ring, the thing that comes out of the TV in the Ring, and the lady that lives in the floor in Evil Dead 2013. Like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
she's like a cross between that and like just fucking terrifying.
Her laugh is
Totally.
also creepy as fuck.
Oh yes.
That maniacal laugh, like chills.
Yes. Yeah, she played it so good. Didn't they say that she had to go under like 13 hours of prosthetics? Like, how do you even do like, isn't that your whole workday? What do you gotta
Yeah.
like film like 40-hour workdays? God, that's awful. Um, okay, one thing, and I don't know if anybody here can explain one thing, and because this does go into Terrifier 3. And this is one thing I think why I haven't fully connected with the Terrifier franchise is I have no fucking idea what that little girl in Terrifier 2, like, who was she?
It's funny.
What was she?
It's funny you bring that up because I was literally just about to ask the same because I was surprised she wasn't in part 3 at all. Like just left out. So like I have no idea.
She feels more like a figment of Art's imagination because he sees her when he doesn't see her before. Then they're in the laundrette or whatever it is, and then he sees her. So it feels like he's imagining her, like a wee imaginary friend for Art. I don't think
Yeah.
she's real
But why?
I thought
Yeah,
because he's a fucking mental clown.
yeah, it
Or demon.
almost yeah, it almost felt like it was something that haunts Art, maybe a child that he killed early on, that they were gonna like flesh that out in a direction, then they just kind of dropped it because that's the biggest loose end
Yeah.
from any of the movie. That's what I'm saying. That second one could use a massive. I mean, she was cool. She sold a lot of shit at Spirit Halloween, but like, what the fuck is the point? She didn't really have a point.
I literally like don't I hope that somebody is listening to this and they're like, "Chase that!" like screaming at the fucking radio because I literally
The radio.
I shut the fuck up, Brian.
Make sure and listen on
Well,
your radio.
yeah, on your tape deck. Um, I literally just don't understand her presence in Terrifier 2. I don't know what her meaning is, but I could have sworn that somebody was talking about how, like, that her character now will make more sense because of Terrifier 3 because of this whole art needing a vessel because and that's even something that I fully haven't gotten like I like that they explained it more, but I still don't fully understand what they mean that he needs a vessel because I'm like, what do you mean he needs a vessel? Because he got his head chopped off and he still was able to come back to life. Like and
Because Vicky was still alive. He's a demon, so Art is like the demon that is Art took over Vicky. So as long as like that person that the
how did he get his
demon's
head
in,
back?
because he never like it like came from her. Like the demon like birthed Art again.
Oh, okay. Okay, yes. Okay, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
That
And
that
so
makes sense.
yeah, so that's why he was able to come back is because the demon's still alive and Art is just this like walking mummy essentially that is like connected, but like he can't be his like being if there's nobody to possess.
So, was that who the little girl was? Was she a vessel?
No, because Vicky was still alive in 2. So I
Yeah,
think
well, see,
Brian's right. Like she might be just a figment of his imagination.
No, she's not because I just looked it up. Her sole purpose was she came from wherever he came from because after he like took himself out, she's the one and the reason that he got revived. So she revived him. So she comes from whatever place he came from. She revived them and then they just teamed up because that's all it literally was. It's just for him to have a sidekick. So, but where'd she go?
Back to hell,
yeah, this
probably. We'll find
I'm
out
reading
in 4.
I'm reading this article. It says the pale little girl's backstory is left almost entirely unexplained in Terrifier 2, period. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so we're not the like I'm like, am I just dumb? Do I not understand? Like, did I not piece together who she was? And then like in 3, they gave us more of an explanation. And I just didn't pick up the clues, but no, it just doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
zero.
Okay, cool. Cool, 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 cool.
I want like a
Um,
full on battle now at the end of like 4. Like they're down in hell. It's like the pale girl, Vicky, and Art together versus like
yeah.
Sienna, her dad, and her brother, just like with swords and shields.
Yeah,
Just
I
go
you
full
know,
fantasy.
just all of it, everybody that he's ever killed. His
Yeah.
like his baby version of himself too that she birthed, like all of them. Yeah, I feel like there's still it left off with so many more questions than answers, but it's still my favorite of the
Yeah.
franchise.
Yeah.
What What was everyone's favorite kill in the movie?
In
The
3,
chain
Yeah.
the chainsaw scene.
Chainsaw, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, chainsaw scene. Yeah, chainsaw scene
Chainsaw's
was
pretty fucking gnarly.
It was awesome.
I I just thought like and some people are like, "Oh, is this worse than the bedroom scene?" I personally thought so because I feel like they leveled up with their prosthetics. In Terrifier 2, you can still like even though they are so incredible, it feels very mechanical. Like like at
Yeah.
least to me. Like when you're watching it, I'm
Well,
like, "Oh, that kind of looks like an animatronic." Like, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, that's the difference of him. Like he did it all himself in 2, and
yes.
he did 3 as well. But they had a whole entire Hollywood effects team. Like it was not one guy; it was a fucking team that did 3.
Yes. And so I think in 3 when we have because we have a lot of heinous kills in 3 and there is like I
A
mean,
lot.
Yeah.
copious amounts of blood, and I
A lot.
love how they did the blood because it felt very fun and not, like, comically excessive. It was like, "Oh, this is, like, excessive, but, like, it makes sense." Like, when he does the whole angel scene thing. But yeah, the chainsaw one, I thought it was so realistic looking.
See, there's
For
all this imagery. And I was just thinking back with the kill, the scene at the end when they like fucking nail her hands like she's Jesus on a cross and they put the thorns on her head. we're going to heaven and hell. We're having a heaven and hell
Well,
battle.
but here, and
Okay, that's
if you
fair.
want,
Yeah.
if you want to tie it into that, and you want to take the Jesus route, they also nailed the dad to the wall, like one
Yep.
of the disciples
Yes.
that died with Christ, and they
Yeah,
put
like he
him
was
on
like
the fucking
crucified.
wall. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That they like crucified the uncle or
yeah,
whatever.
the uncle,
Yep.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought the chainsaw scene was fucking gnarly, and it's like it's the gnarliest kill in the movie, but the one that had the most impact upon me as like brutal and offensive and scary is the bomb at the mall with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit, like, because I just never ever seen that coming. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, I was like, holy fuck, they went here. You know what I mean?
To be honest, I feel like that scene, the bomb in the mall is way more offensive than the opening scene. Like everyone's like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
like they're like, "Oh, the
Yeah.
opening scene is controversial." I'm like, I think with especially in America, like our like political climate events that happen here,
Yeah, it's like
a bomb in a
fucking
mall.
terrorism. Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
like
right.
a bomb in a mall is
It's
like
scary.
highly controversial. So I
Right.
think that is like fucking like not even having to do with kids. I'm like, even if that was just like adults going around or
Right.
something, like it's
Yeah.
just the scene in itself is very controversial.
I agree. Like watching him stick a chainsaw up a man's ass and cut him in half from
Yeah.
back and seeing his genitalia and all that. Like, I expect that from Terrifier.
Yes.
But to blow up a mall full of people and kids, I did not expect them to do that. So I thought that was the one where they really like pushed the fucking line.
Yes.
Listen,
and it was so fun too.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
He wanted to hammer home. He just doesn't target women. This time he like chainsawed a fucking man in half. So
Yeah.
Right.
No, 100%.
throw that
But yeah,
criticism out.
that that tension leading up to like where all the kids are grabbing the gifts and you're like, oh, I fucking know it's gonna happen, and we just get like art on crack where his personality is coming out, like just oozing out. It was such a fun scene. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that one and the chainsaw is probably like neck and neck. Okay, any final thoughts on Terrifier 3?
I can't
Damien-
wait for 4.
Yeah. Damien, hire me now.
I
I'm
am
helping you
I am
write.
actually excited for 4. Like I'm invested now that I need to know where this goes. Like there's so many questions.
This
That are left-
conversation made me so more invested in 4 than I was before we had this conversation.
Yes.
Because there's so much that they can do
You're welcome.
that like will really I
No,
I'm
literally,
glad,
Seth.
I'm glad we did this. Because look, we were gonna do a 20-minute episode. Now we're dropping in an hour deep dive on Terrifier 3.
Hell
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I might actually go
Um,
back and watch 2, even though it's three days
dude,
long. I feel like
same.
I've got to watch it now just because I'm like, shit, what did I miss? And
Same.
so
It's
a
gonna
lot of
make
hidden
more
details.
it's gonna make more sense now. Yeah.
and the fact that 3 takes place on Christmas feels like an obvious sign as well. It's like, well, look what day it's taking place on, guys.
Yeah.
Jesus.
On the Lord's Day.
On the
Uh,
Lord's Day.
Yeah, that's my my final thought. I absolutely love all the homages to classic Christmas movies. I thought it was so many little homages to like Black Christmas and like even like Silent Night, Deadly Night. It was just so fucking good. I love
Yeah.
a
We got a
Christmas
shining
slasher.
moment.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, it's just so good. So
The last thing I'll say about Terrifier 3, since I've only viewed it once and we've all only seen it once, I think Terrifier 3 is the one out of the 3 that's going to get better upon viewing. Like I think,
Oh,
I
100%.
think
Yeah.
watching it again
Yeah.
is going to make the rating could go up. Like because it's like you see it with all those people, you meet the cast, but then like breaking it down and like everything we just talked about, I might have to redo the trilogy just to feel it again. But you need like a whole vacation pay to do that.
Yeah.
literally, I know. But I think I want to do that. Like watch Terrifier and then Terrifier 2 and then watch 3 again just to see if it makes a little bit more sense. But okay, so watch Terrifier 3 comes out in theaters on Friday the 11th, but usually it comes out a day before in movie theaters. Some people have already seen it at screenings. Some movie theaters are doing early screenings. So go watch it. Go support independent cinema. We love you guys. And you can find us on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. Spotify. Are we on Twitter? I don't know.
Apple,
We're on Twitter.
Apple. Okay, Apple. Find us
Amazon.
anywhere. like, share, rate. It helps us. We love you. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.